What is going on, my Masketeers? Welcome back to another episode of The Mask, and we are here to talk about Black Widow. Finally, the film that has been hit with so many delays and setbacks due to the pandemic finally released, and I'm here to give you my thoughts and my opinions on it. So, the film in and of itself takes place between the events of Captain America Civil War and Avengers Endgame. And so we get a little nice look into Natasha, aka Black Widow's past, as it eventually catches up with her. And so we get to see her when she's a little girl living in Idaho, and she's with her family. She's got a little sister, her mum and her dad. But then you quickly discover that essentially that's not her real family. They're basically doing an undercover mission, or her parents are anyway. And then from that, it then transitions to her and her sister being taken to the Red Room. That's where they are created to be the perfect assassins. And so we then it then fast forwards to modern times where, as you know, Natasha's out. She's now becoming an Avenger. But now that she is essentially running from the government due to the Sokovia Accords, she's living basically underground and she's gone off the grid. Now, her sister, Yelena, she is still in the program. So she's still a Black Widow. She's still doing assassinations. And so what happens is she is on a mission to assassinate a former widow who has defected. And in her trying to assassinate her, they have a confrontation. And she ends up getting sprayed by this kind of gas. And then what you discover is the gas is actually an agent that allows the subject, aka the widows who have been brainwashed on a chemical level, to break out of their programming. So Yolanda basically snaps out of her conditioning and her programming, and she basically goes on the run as well. But she takes the vials the previous widow that she was chasing down in the first place had on her. And so she sends those vials to Natasha, and that is like the premise of the movie. Then a few things happen where essentially it becomes both Natasha and Yelena trying to take down the Red Room. And in them doing that, they basically have to reconnect with quote unquote family, which is their mom and their dad, who happen to be the Red Guardian. And like the Red Guardian is basically like the Soviet Union's version of Captain America. He is like the only successful super soldier that they were able to create. But the only thing is, I don't know how much of his super soldier-ness is the same as Steve's, because he definitely has the strength and the speed and agility. I just don't think he has it to the same degree. And as well, his aging factor doesn't really seem to be top notch. So only Steve got the good steroids. The rest of the people seem to get just like the bug B and C grade versions of it. They're trying to essentially, like I said, take down the Red Room. And now the person who's in charge of the Red Room, Dreykov, and he's the one who's orchestrated everything, and he is the one in charge of training and conditioning the widows. So how did I feel about the movie? Well, let me say this. I thought the movie, it was good for what it was. It was a good movie. I feel it tried to take elements from Captain America, the Winter Soldier, in it trying to be more espionage, grown-up tones than the normal MCU movies. Even like the fight scene where Natasha meets up with her sister in Budapest and they basically get attacked by fellow widows. When they were fighting, like, there's a scene where they're like on top of the building essentially, and one of the widows is after them, but she happens to fall. Yo, it looked absolutely amazing. But more than that, like, you saw her body broken. I was thinking, whoa, for a Disney movie, you don't really see that. And then just to take it one step further, she ends up um, committing suicide because she's been commanded to do so due to the fact that she can no longer operate due to her injuries. And you just see her straight shoot herself in the head, and like the side of her face is just messed up. And I was like, oh, okay, this definitely isn't like the standard feel good Disney movie. So it tried to capture those elements that made Winter Soldier so good. But then at the same time, I feel like they still had to remember this is a Marvel slash Disney movie. So they had to throw in some jokes here and there. And sometimes it worked and sometimes I didn't really feel that it went too well. I think they did a bit too much. But for the most part, I think it was quite good. For me, I really liked the character of Yelena, which is very surprising. I didn't really think I was going to like her as much, but she's very sarcastic, she's witty, and I like the fact that she's having fun because essentially she has been programmed her entire life, and now that she's free, she's now just enjoying being able to think for herself. So I really did like her personality. Um, the big bad of the movie, Taskmaster. Now let me just say this: Taskmaster, when I first saw them, they were on job. He looks amazing, he moves amazing, and the feel of Taskmaster, I don't know, like it gave me kind of like Kylo Ren vibes when he first came out, before he became an emo kid and was just out here throwing tantrums. But when he stepped off that cruiser and he just looked epic and dark, that's the way Taskmaster looked when you first get introduced to him. When he steps onto the scene, he just looks amazing and dark. And his moves are on point. He is a real threat, and I love it. Whew, boy. But towards the end, that's where it kind of lost me a little bit. I feel like what they did, the reveal anyway, I wasn't really a fan of. And don't worry, I'm not really going to spoil it too much because I want you to go and watch the movie for yourself. But I wasn't really a fan of what they did with the end and the reveal. I get it, but I feel like it could have been executed a bit better, and it kind of took away like the mystique and the intrigue of the character once they did it. I really did like the dynamic between the whole family. I really liked how Natasha, Yelena, Alexei, and Melina all vibe off each other, even though like they're not like a standard family within their world and what they do. They are a family, and I liked the way that bond was. I think they had a lot of tender moments, and that is down to the actors because everyone did like a fantastic job. And that's one thing I will give them. When it comes down to the action and the acting, it was really, really well executed. Some parts of the quote unquote film, when it comes down to certain characters' motivations, I thought that was a little bit weird. Melina's motivation and why she did what she did, some things don't really make that much sense. I can kind of understand Alexei, his motivation and why he does what he does, to me makes more sense only because of how they writ the character. But Melina, like, she was a little bit weird. Like why she did what she did at certain points that didn't really make that much sense to me. Apart from that, I really enjoyed the movie for what it was. When you see all the widows all over the world, I felt like it was more like a nod to, in a sense, girls that are human trafficked and women that are held against their will and who are basically subject to the mistreatment, quote unquote, abuse of men in power and authority. I wouldn't say it was too heavy handed, but at the same time, when it was presented to me, I could blatantly see it as a movie to kind of end Scarlett Johansson's time as Black Widow, or a satisfying goodbye. I don't know if it did that. I felt like this movie kind of set up a lot of things for where you would want her story to continue, and maybe that was the point, but not to do it with her character per se, but more to do with her sister's character. But I still felt that they could have done it in a way where it felt like a satisfying end for Natasha's storyline. Whereas, like with Tony, you got to see his whole arc throughout all the different movies, and then it culminated with Endgame. And so it felt like a fitting arc. Whereas with Natasha, I don't know if this felt like a fitting arc, but all in all, it was a good movie for her, especially the fact that she's waited so long to get her own solo movie. But I'll definitely say that this will, for me anyway, be top 5 of the Marvel solo adventures, like in terms of origin anyway, in terms of like an origin story or like the first outing of the character, not including sequels. This one is definitely top 5 for me. So with that being said, I'll give Black Widow an 8 out of 10. Those are my thoughts and my opinions. Please let me know what you thought, and if you liked the movie, and if you didn't like the movie, go off in the comments. But like always, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for supporting me and helping the channel grow. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.